Good morning, everyone. In this unit, so far we have discussed about the basic principles of spectroscopy, then Beer-Lambert's law, after that colorimetry, and after that we have discussed about the spectrophotometer. And in that spectrophotometer, so we have so far discussed about the single beam spectrophotometer. Now, so today we are going to discuss about double beam spectrophotometer. So in this topic, we are going to discuss about the uh, schematic diagram, that means instruments and the functions of those instruments, parts and functions of the double beam spectrophotometer, and the difference between double beam and single beam spectrophotometer. Okay, let's start with spectrophotometer. Okay, look at this diagram, schematic diagram. So this is light source, and as like in single beam spectrometer, the light source can be, depending on our requirement, we can use IR radiation, UV radiation, or visible radiation. And the whatever light is emitted or coming out from the light source, so that will allow to fall upon the diffracting grating. And then the light is reflected into or divided into different wavelength of components, so that to be in different directions. And the light which is parallel to the direction of the slit, so only that radiation will be sent into the next part. Okay, and this is a rotating disk, and by rotating this disk, what happens when the light is fallen on this shade, then that will be observed. And if when the light is fallen on this one, then that will be sent into the sample cell. And if the light is fallen on this side, that will be sent into the reference cell. So here see, after rotating disk, we have two cells. Up to this is a spectrometer. Up to this is known as spectrometer. Up to this, and this is photometer, and this is photometer. Up to this spectrometer, and this is photometer. So that's why this is known as spectrophotometer. Spectrophotometer is nothing but the combination of two instruments, that is spectrometer and second one is photometer. So up to this spectrometer and up to this photometer. Okay, so here what happens, this rotating disk will divide this light into two parts. One will be sent into the sample cell, another will be sent into the reference cell. The reference cell, so what is the reference cell? So reference cell is nothing but the cell in which we place only solvent. Only we place solvent, and the solvent doesn't absorb any radiation. The whatever radiation coming from this, that will be transmitted. And here the sample cell, and here we place our sample or analyzing analyte, and that analyzing analyte will be dissolved in this solvent, so thereby we get a solution, and this is known as analyte solution or sample solution, or you can say sample fluid. So when this light is passed to same intensity, the light which is sent into the reference cell or which is passing to the reference cell and sample cell will have same intensity, same wavelength or same intensity. And the light, when the light is passing through the reference cell, the no light will be observed. Here what happened is sample, that means analyte will observe some light and transmit remaining light. So that light will be fallen on mirror, and then this is again rotating disk. Thereby this rotating disk, it will be sent into the voltmeter, and then first amplifier followed by the voltmeter, and then detector. And this detect the volt amplifier, what it do, so the amplifier amplifies the intensity of both lights. And voltmeter, what it do, the photoelectric cell, what is the role of photoelectric cell? So after amplifier, the light is sent into the photoelectric cell. There the photoelectric cell will convert these photons into the electric signals, and those electric signals will be sent into the detector, where those will be detected, and this is the recorder. So that will be, the electric cell will be recorded into the a graph. So this is the schematic and outline of double beam spectrophotometer. Okay, let's see the components. Okay, the light source. This is light source. As like in single beam, so we can use visible spectrum light, UV spectrum light, IR spectrum light, whatever it may be. So the source can be changed by changing the lamp. If you want to run or examine the compound under um, visible range radiation, so then we can use tungsten. If you want to examine your sample in the range of UV ultraviolet range, then the sample will be replaced with hydrogen lamp or deuterium. If you want to examine your compound under IR radiation or infrared radiation, then you need to be replaced that's light source with the nest glove. Okay, so thereby we can get a different uh, range of electromagnetic radiation. With the help of those, we can analyze our sample. So selection of light or selection of source depends on upon requirement, upon our requirement. Okay. Next, diffracting, grating, and cell. So diffracting, grating, and cell is nothing but a monochromator. So generally, this monochromator maybe yes, prism. What is the role of prism? We know that when the white light is passed through the prism, then what happens? That prism will divide diffract the light into different 7 colors. So that means a splitting of light. So the main role of this diffracting grating are the if you can replace this diffracting grating with the prism, but compared to the prism, diffracting grating is somewhat efficient. Diffracting grating does the same job, but more efficiently. So, and next see. So here what happens, this is the blue light which is coming from the light source that is falling upon the diffracting grating. So the role of the diffracting grating is what? That will split the light into different components of the wavelengths or colors. So, and that to be into different directions. So what happens, only the here see the blue arrow showing the various wavelengths of the light are sent off in the different directions. So like this. And the slit only allows the light of very narrow range of wavelength through into the rest of the spectrometer. So this is the slit. So this slit, now this slit, what happens? Now, for example, if you examine, if our source is visible, so what is the range of visible? 400 to 800 nanometers generally, if you say. That means this white light radiation will be split into the around 400 components of the wavelengths. So 400, so that is a long range, 400 to 800. Wavelength range is 400 to 800. That is considered as a long range. But the role of the slit that doesn't allow all these components of the wavelengths um, into next part. So it will allow only narrow range. Narrow range means only 200 to 205 or 205 to 210. So that may be 4 or 5 components of different wavelengths. So that is known as narrow range of wavelengths. So the role of this slit is what? That allows the only narrow range of wavelengths into the next part. Okay. The gradually rotating the diffracting grating. So this is by gradually rotating the diffracting grating, you can allow the light from uh, from the spectrum. So that means by rotating this, we can send the remaining ranges of narrow ranges of light radiation into the next part. Here, see. Uh, into the rest of the spectrum. And next, by gradually rotating the diffracting grating, you can allow the light from the whole spectrum. Whole spectrum means 400 nanometers to 800 nanometers. So if you are using UV, visible light. Okay, so that means here the diffracting grating is what? It is nothing but it is also rotating. By rotating, we can send all the electromagnetic radiation into the next part through this slit. How? By rotating this. Okay. So this is about the diffracting grating slit. And this is rotating this. See, if you look at this rotating disc, you can find 3 components or 3 colors. So this is black section, this is the transparent section, this is mirrored section. And so each section will have different duty, different activity. Let's see. If we allow if the light which is coming from the slit, if it is falls on this side, what is that? The transparent side. What happens? The light will be absorbed completely. If the light is fallen upon the black side, that black section, then what happens? That light only sent to the sample cell. If it is fallen on mirror cell, that will be sent into the reference cell. So, but this with the help of this rotating disc, we can send the light into reference cell as well as in sample cell. Okay. So let's see first one. The light coming from the diffracting grating and slit will hit the rotating disc and one of the 3 things can happen at once. Okay, what are these? If it hits the transparent section, so transparent section means this one. If it hits the transparent section, it will go straight and pass through the cell containing the sample. So that will be sent into the sample containing cell. And it being bounced by a mirror onto next rotating disc. It is bounced by a mirror on a second rotating disc. This is second rotating disc. So when this light is fallen upon this one, that what happens, it will be sent to the sample set. Okay, when this transparent part. Okay, and then it will come after absorption, the remaining the transmitted light again that bounces, or that means that may again that strikes the mirror, and this mirror will send that radiation into the again second rotating disc. Okay, and second rotating disc. This disc is rotating such that when the light arrives from the first disc, it meets the mirrored section of the second disc. So that means, see, the disc is rotating in such that when the light is arrives from the first disc, so first disc, it meets the mirrored section of the second disc. So that means this is mirrored section. This is mirrored section. So whatever light coming from here, that will be meet this mirrored section. Here this same mirrored section, what happened? This light also coming from the mirrored section of first rotating disc. So the light is coming from the first rotating disc, so that will meet in the what is this mirror section of the second disc. Okay, that is the first feature. Like this here, see. So the light coming from here, and this is a transparent section, and that will be sent into the sample cell. And here in sample cell, what happens? Some absorption, some intensity of light will be observed, and the remaining intensity of light will be transmitted. And this transmitted light strikes the mirror, and then again come sent to the second rotating disc. Here, the second rotating disc, it is one mirror section. So that light will fall upon this mirror section. Next, if second duty. So here, what we said, three options may happen, three things may happen. So first thing is that the light is fallen on transparent section. Next, if the light coming from the slit, if that is hits the mirror section of the first rotating disc, this is first rotating disc. Now it is hit on mirror section. This is mirror section. Okay, it bounces down along the green path after. So this is green path. Green path again it bounces, that means it strikes the mirror and again sent to the reference cell. It passed through the reference cell. More about the later. Finally, the light gets to the second disc, which is rotating in such a way that it meets the transparent section. So here the rotating, which is here, see, in first case the right light which is coming from the first disc, that meets only mirror section, and the second light which is coming from the reference cell, that meets the CRC transparent section. So here this light coming from the first cell, the first rotating disc or sample cell, that meets the mirror section of second disc, and the light which is coming from the reference cell, that will meet the transparent section of the second rotating disc. Okay. And next, third thing, if the light meets the first disc at the black section, so black section means this one. If light meets at the black section, what happens? We know that black body. What is the black color? The role of black color is that absorbs all light and it doesn't emit or transmit any light. So the same thing will happen. So here, see, if the light meets the first disc at the black section, it is black, and for a very short while, no light passes through the spectrometer. Spectrometer means neither reference cell or not sample cell. Just allows the computer to make allowance for any current generated by the detector in the absence of any light. Okay. Next, sample and reference cell. Next, these are the small rectangular glass or quartz containers. So those doesn't this quartz doesn't absorb any light. So intensity of light coming from fallen on the gradients. This quartz container. If you, for example, if you are using glass or quartz, empty glass or quartz, cell which are placed in sample cell are these cuvettes, or we can say cuvettes also, glass cuvette or quartz cuvette. If we place empty quartz cuvette placed in sample or reference cell, what happens? The intensity of incident light and intensity of transparent light will be equal. So that means this glass will not going to absorb any sort of intensity. So which will absorb only analyte will absorb. So this is transparent, 100% transparent of light, uh, made of glass or quartz content. They are often designed so that the light beam travels a distance of 1 centimeter through the container. So that means the diameter or space, or you can say volume. How much? 1 centimeter. The sample cell contains a solution of the substance you are testing, usually very dilute. It is very, very important. Only dilute solutions must be taken into the colorimeter or spectrophotometer for analysis. Only not concentrated, only very, very dilute solution. So that approximately the concentration should be in millimoles or microns, or sometimes in parts per million also. The solvent is chosen so that it doesn't absorb any significant amount of light in the wavelength range interested. So this is so the whatever solvent which is taken in reference cell, that's supposed to not absorb any light intensity or any photon. So which will which one so only these substances or which are going to analyze, or analyte should absorb. No one should absorb the light, only analyte should absorb the light. Okay, so by that manner we uh, created two slats. One is for sample, second one is reference. Next is detector and computer. And so whatever the light coming from this sample cell and reference cell, again that will send into the second rotator, and then second rotator will send the light into the amplifier are followed by photoelectric cells. So amplifier of photoelectric cell, that is known as spectrophotometer. So photometer, what is the role of photometer? It will convert the photon into the electric signals. So the detector converts the incoming light into the current, that means current signal. The higher current, the greater intensity of the light uh, transmitted. For each wavelength of light passing through the spectrometer, the intensity of light passing through the referencer is measured. For each wavelength of light passing through the spectrometer, the intensity of light passing through the referencer is measured. This is usually referred as an I naught. That is I for the intensity. So what happens? The first the signals, the reference, the radiation coming from the referencer, that will be converted into the current signal, and those current signals is considered are referred as I, the intensity of incident light, and that are for intensity I, that is I for intensity, and that means I means here transmitted light. Then the intensity of light passing through the sample cell is also measured for that wavelength and given by the symbol I. So first what happens, the intensity of incident light, that means the intensity of the light coming from the reference cell will be converted into the current, and that will be referred as I naught. Later that, after that, the intensity of light coming from the sample cell, that will be converted into the, or measured, converted into the electric signal, and that is referred as I. If I is less than I naught, see, always uh, always I less than I naught. Why? Because I naught is what? The light coming from the reference cell, and I is the light coming from the sample cell. So in sample, what happens? Analyte definitely absorb the intensity of the light. So that's why the intensity of light coming from the sample cell always less than the intensity of light coming from the reference cell. Then obviously the sample has absorbed some of the light. Yes, a simple bit of the math is then done in the computer to convert this into the something called absorbance of the sample given by A. So what happens? These intensities, the difference in the intensity of incident light, that means light coming from the sample cell and the light coming from the reference cell, that will be converted into the graph by doing the maths. So by converting mathematics. So the signals will be generated how? By means of mathematics, and that will be recorded in the recorded, and this signal that is called absorbance. So the difference in the intensity of reference cell and the difference in intensity of light coming from the reference cell and the light coming from the sample cell, that will be converted into the absorbance by means of maths. and that will be denoted as A. For this reason, which will become clear when we do a bit of theory on another page. Okay, so the relationship between the A and the two intensity is given by A is equal to log 10 I naught by I. So that means you can say log I naught minus log I, the difference in intensity of incident light and intensity of transmitted light. Or you can say intensity of light coming from the reference cell minus intensity of light coming from the sample cell. That is what observers. On the most of the diagram, you will come across the absorbance range from the 0 to 1, but it can go higher than that. An absorbance of 0 at some wavelength means the no light of that particular wavelength has been observed. Okay, see here what happens. Through this slit, okay, so just to come to this part. So by rotating this, what happens? We are allowing a narrow range of the different components of wavelength at once. So that means first, for suppose we are using visible light, that is the range of 400 to 800. So first what happens? First 400 to 405 wavelength of light will be sent into this meter through this slit. After that 406 to 410, 411 to 415 like that. Every time what happens by rotating this, what happens? The all radiation, all spectrum will be sent into the remaining part of spectrometer. So only the sample will absorb only one of the specific wavelength of the radiation, not all the wavelength of the radiation. So he mentioned same thing. Here see. So if the absorbance is zero, so when absorbance will be zero, when the intensity of the light coming from the reference cell and the intensity of light coming from the sample cell is equal. So that means the narrow range of wavelengths is not observed. Okay, it implies that no light of that particular wavelength has been observed. The intensity of the sample and the intensity of the difference beams are both same, so that the ratio is 1. So log 1 means 0. And the absorbance happens of 1 happens when absorbance of 1, when we get 1, see, when 90% of the light 90% light at the wavelength has been observed, which means the intensity is 100%, sorry, 10% of that would be observed. Okay, that means what? Log I naught. The light is coming from the reference cell, that is 100 by light coming from the sample cell is how much? 90. So that means 90 by 100 minus 90 how much? 10. So log 10 how much? 1. So then this is, or log 100 by 10, you will get that one. That is 10, log 10 is equal to 1. Okay, so this is the and by the this recorder, the hardware will convert those signals into the spectrum. So here see, this is x y-axis and this is x-axis. If you are recording UV visible spectrophotometer, so that means your light range is 200 to 800 nanometers. So then what happens on the x-axis? We take the wavelength, and y-axis observance. If you are using higher range radiation, that what happens? So this on y-axis we will take transmittance, intensity of transmittance, and on x-axis we will take the wave number. Okay, so at that time we will get like that, inverted peaks, inverted broad peaks, inverted broad peaks, like that. So here, from here, this is from upper side the baseline. We consider the baseline like that, and we will get like this spectrums. Okay, and see, now in this UV and visible range of radiation, then on the y-axis we generally get absorbance, intensity of absorbance, and x-axis wavelength in nanometers. So this is, so at that time what happens? So that means here see, if you observe this, so 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, around 210 nanometers, the absorption of light is started. The only some intensity, very less intensity of light is observed here, and here almost no intensity of the light is observed here. So here no intensity of light is observed. That means the intensity of light coming from the reference cell and the intensity of light coming from the sample cell is equal. So that means no absorption. So absorption is 0. Here the absorption is somewhat, uh, somewhat. Here see, from here 0 to 0.3. So that means only very less, very less. And that means we can say only 40, 20 or 30 percent of light is observed here. Here maybe 10% of light observed. But at this wavelength from 310 onwards, what happened? The maximum intensity, we found the maximum intensity where at 400 nanometers. So that so from 310 to what happens as increasing the wavelength of the uh, light, what happens? Absorption also increases, and it reaches maximum absorbance. So this maximum absorbance is denoted as lambda max in UV visible spectrometer. So lambda max is what? The maximum absorption at a particular wavelength. So that is known as lambda max. So here the maximum absorption is done or occurred around 400. And again, beyond 400, what happens? Absorber intensity decreases up to almost 480, and then we again there will be there is no absorption. So that means what happens? This line is flattened. So here onwards, this line is flattened. So by that manner, we can get the information from this spectra interpretation of spectra. So we can interpret that around this absorption is happened. That means it may be due to presence of what we can say pi to pi star transitions or electronic transitions. So like that we can interpret or we can get the information, particularly in qualitative analysis as well as in quantitative analysis. Okay, so this is about double beam spectrophotometer. So just to recall it. So this is the schematic diagram. So main components are spectrophotometer means the spectro and photometer. It is the combination of two meters. One is spectrometer, after this spectrometer, and from here onward, this is photometer. Okay. So components: light source, diffracting grating, slit, first rotating disc, and mirrors. The sample cell, reference cell, and second rotating disc. And this is here detector. This detector uh, may be contain amplifier, photoelectric cell, galvanometer, etc., etc. All parts. Okay. Um, so in digital spectrophotometer, they all will be assembled in only one component, one compartment, that is known as a detector. That is detector, and the detector will be further connected to the hardware. So that is computer, and this computer will convert those signals into the peaks. Okay. So light source. So what is the light source and light source? So here we can use IR range radiation, UV range radiation, visible range radiation. If you are running this experiment by using visible range radiation, then this instrument can be known as colorimeter. Okay. In terms of if you are using single beam spectrophotometer. Okay. So in double beam spectrophotometer, this is somewhat precise and accurate compared to single beam spectrophotometer. Okay. Yes, the light source we can use IR radiation if you want to use IR radiation, or if you want to examine your sample under IR radiation, then you need to use the NS-Closer. If you want to examine your sample solution under UV, then you need to replace this with hydrogen lamp or deuterium lamp. Or if you want to examine your sample under visible light radiation, then you can use ordinary light or tungsten light. And the whatever the radiation, whatever the range of electromagnetic radiation, so that is coming from the source, that will send on allowed to fall on diffracting grating. This diffracting grating, the role of this diffracting grating is it acts as a prism. Prism. So what is the role of prism? The prism will split the light into different components of the wavelength. And now this rotating this diffracting grating is rotates by means of rotating. What is the use of rotating of this diffracting grating? By rotating this diffracting grating, we can send all the spectrum of this light into the spectrophotometer through this slit. And what is the role of this slit? This slit will only allow the narrow range of components of wavelength. So that means if you are using visible range, the wavelength, this light is split into around 400 components of the wavelength, 400 to 800. So each this slit will send only narrow range of wavelength. So that means 200 to 205. That means it may be range of 5 components of the wavelength will be allowed at once through this slit. By rotating this diffracting, we can send one after one, whole spectrum will be sent into the spectrophotometer. Okay. Next, this is the light which is coming from the slit that will be fallen on this rotating disc. This rotating disc has three components. This is transparent side, this is a mirror side, and this is black section. When the light fallen on transmitted side, that will be sent into the sample cell, and the light which is fallen on the mirror side, that will be sent to the mirror. And then here what happens is bounce back, that means it will reflected again, it will falls and it reflected, and then it is sent into the reference cell. And the light which is fallen on the black section, that will absorbs whole light. Okay. And next you see the light which is coming from the transparent section, that will be allowed into the sample cell. Here what happened, the N light present in sample cell will absorb some light, and so that's why here see these two lights are two parts are shown in two different colors, red color. So here what happens, some intensity of light will be observed and remaining intensity of light will be transmitted, and that light, transmitted light again allowed to fallen on mirror. And here what happened on mirror, whenever the light fallen on mirror, that will be bounced or that will be reflected, and then that will be sent to the second rotating disc. And how this will fall on mirror side of mirror section of rotating disc. The light which is coming from the sample side, that is allowed to fall on mirror section of the second rotating disc. Next, come to here. So the light which is coming from the first disc which is strike on mirror section of first rotating disc, thus will be sent into the mirror, and then here what happens, it will be reflected, and then it is allowed to the pass of the reference cell. So during this reference cell, when the light is passing through this reference cell, there will be no absorption. So no light will going to be absorbed here. All the intensity of incident light or intensity of light of this before entering into the reference cell, and after entering after the reference cell will be remains same, and this light will be fallen allowed to fallen upon the second rotating disk of transparent side. Okay, this way. And then this light will be sent into the next part, that is photometer. In the photometer is consist of amplifier. So this amplifier will amplify or increases the intensity of these two lights, corresponding lights, and then that will be sent into the photoelectric cell. There what happened, the intensity of these lights will be converted into the electric signal, and then that and that light is sent into the galvanometer, so where the intensities are measured, and then that is sent into the detector. So the detector will detect the difference in these two, different in the absorption of these two lights, and these two lights, and that will be sent. That can be, the intensity of lights can be converted into absorption by means of mathematical by some simple maths, by maths. So that will be done in the detector, and then that will be sent into the computer. Now the computer will record the difference in intensity of these lights in terms of a graph. Okay, so this is about the spectrophotometer. Which one? Double beam. Okay, now let's see the single beam and double beam. How? What is the difference? So you are looking at spectrophotometer, single beam and double beam. So in that single beam, what happens, only we have only one cell, sample cell, one cell or one holder, that is sample cell. And here we are using what? Rotating diffracting grating. Here we don't have rotating disc. Here we are using rotating disc. We don't have any rotating disc. Okay, and here in this case we are using, here we have one mirror, and here we have one mirror, and here second rotating disc. So the major difference between single beam and double beam is, so single beam contains only sample cell, whereas the double beam contains the reference cell as well as sample cell, and this doesn't have any rotating disc as well as mirrors. Okay, remaining are same. So this is light detector, this is light detector, and this is display. Okay, so that is the difference, and it is more sensitive. Double beam spectrophotometer is more sensitive. Why? Because here what happens, because absorbance may be calculated. Absorbance. So absorbance means what? The difference between the light coming from the reference cell and the sample cell, that will be recorded, and here just it will record only intensity of transmitted light. So here we can observe only, we can record only transmittance, and here we can record absorbance as well as transmittance. Okay, so that is a difference between but single beam and double beam spectrophotometer. Okay. And so this is every time in every spectrophotometer, the distance between the distance between in here in double beam spectrophotometer. Okay, coming to double beam spectrometer. So this is the length of sample cell as well as the length of reference cell always uniform. The length should be uniform. So that means the cuvette here, see, the travel distance 1 centimeter, it should be always constant. Otherwise, what happens according to Beers Lambert law? According to Beers Lambert law, just recall Beers Lambert. Okay, so A directly proportional to C and L. C is the concentration of the solution and L is the distance, light, the distance traveled by the light or a distance of this sample cell. If you are maintaining distance of sample cell and reference cell as constant, then what happens is absorbance now directly proportional to only concentration of the cell, concentration of the analyte. Okay, so in that experiment, we make sure that uh, we make sure that what the epsilon, that is absorptivity constant or molar absorption coefficient, as well as the length of cell should be constant throughout our experiment. Okay, so at that time only absorbance depends on A, directly proportional to constant. Absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration of the cell. So by that time we can analyze the we can quantitatively quantify the substance or analyte. Okay, so that is about the spectrophotometer. So up to now we have discussed about single beam and double beam. So before that, this is colorimetry and spectrophotometer. Colorimeter, spectrophotometer. Okay, this is single beam. This is spectrophotometer and colorimeter. So if you are using visible, then this can be known as colorimeter. So major advantage of spectrophotometer over colorimeter is we can use different electromagnetic radiations. So IR, UV, visible. But whereas here we can allow to use only one light source, that is UV. And here we have different diffracting grating agent, diffracting grating, that to be rotating diffracting grating, and here we don't have such. Here we have only filter, so that filter will select this filter will be sent only selected wavelength of radiation, range of wavelength of radiation. And here we can send all the spectrum one after one through this slit. How? This rotating diffracting grating, and remaining are same. After that, the remaining parts are same. Okay, so this is about colorimeter, and so this is the schematic diagram of spectrophotometer and colorimeter. And next, this is application of colorimeter. So in next class, we will discuss about the application of colorimeter. How? By analyzing iron in water sample by using thiocyanide method. Okay, that is one of the application of colorimeter. And after that, we will discuss about the application of spectrophotometer. So in that, we will discuss about estimating of amount of chromium and manganese present in steel by using this spectrophotometer. Okay. So after this, we will discuss applications. So first one is verification of Beard's law. So that means colorimeter. So determination of iron by thiocyanate colorimeter, thiocyanate colorimeter. And then we will discuss about applications of spectrophotometer. What is that? The transition metal elements. Transition metal elements, particularly chromium and manganese, present in steel. Okay. Next class we will discuss about those things. So I hope you have understood about components and functions of spectrophotometer as well as colorimeter. Okay, so tomorrow we will discuss about the application of colorimeter, and then we will discuss about the application of spectrophotometer. Okay, So first one is what? Estimation of iron. Estimation of iron present in water by calorimeter. Using here, we need to use a specific reagent, that is thiocyanate. And after this is also known as verification of Beers-Lambertla. So Beers-Lambertla can be verified by using calorimeter by estimating determining iron present in water by thiocyanate. Okay, after that we estimate uh, presence of chromium and manganese in steel through spectrophotometer. Okay. Okay, so I hope you have understood this one. So thank you.